Hey everyone, welcome to Lady Overlander Radio. Tonight we're speaking with Ariana Dufour. Stay tuned. Grab your favorite drink, whether it's a coffee, cocktail, or tea, and get ready. It's Ladies' Night on Lady Overlander Radio. Lady Overlander Radio is brought to you by Artemis Overland Hardware, Midland Radio, Timbo Tusk, U.S. Action Tracks, The More Expo, and Adventure Trail RV, creator of the Overland Shower. Hey girl, hey.
Hey girl, hey.
How you doing, Arla?
How you doing?
I'm doing good. How's your knee? Oh, that's no good.
Ortho next Wednesday. Be good times.
Boo.
Boo. It's
So
too
just
hot
gonna
to wear a
amputate,
brace.
right? Cut it off above
Cut
the
it off,
knee.
man. I don't know. That's not fun.
Mm-mm.
Are you sitting outside in the Indiana sun today?
I am. It's a little warm. But
Yeah.
I'm hoping it cools down a little bit as the sun set. It's so pretty here. It's like we're right on a lake, and it's just gorgeous. I love it. But there's still humidity, so got to deal with that.
Makes your hair
But-
curlier.
Oh yeah, it's very curly today. So tonight we're talking to Ariana. How are you doing, Ariana?
Hey, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
And I see you have your babies. One of your babies' tails went by behind you.
I know. Yeah, you're definitely going to be seeing the fluff just kind of going back and forth. So, yeah, I've got the two babies, the two border collies.
Oh, that's so awesome. I love dogs. They're the best. I miss Arla's dogs a lot. They were my buddies while I was there for a month.
They were sad a couple of days, legitimately mopey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's because I snuck them treats when you were at work.
I knew it. That's why Sadie started losing her girlish figure.
Oh, yeah. So why don't you give us a little bit of background on yourself, Ariana? Tell us a little bit about where you came from and where you're at now.
Sure. So I am originally from Colorado. Grew up on the southeastern plains, more so towards Kansas. So not the mountain girl that most people would assume I am, but grew up out there and had kind of an outdoorsy dad who always would drag me out to the prairie. And so that kind of ended up carrying over into my life now. But now I live in Salt Lake City area in Utah, and I've been here for a little over a year now and really enjoying it. That was actually a little gift from COVID because now I get to work remote and figured it was time for something new. So pieced out of Colorado and decided to test my luck in Utah.
And that's kind of funny because a lot of people don't really piece out of Colorado. Like they want to go to Colorado as much as possible.
Yeah.
And I've seen, we've been overlanding full time for about 2 years now. And, over the past 2 years since we've been doing it, I've just seen more and more and more people just integrating into Colorado, moving there or camping there more, So I'm sure it's getting a little crowded.
It was, yeah. And I mean, Colorado will always be home. I still have quite a bit of family there. And so I've had some people tell me, gosh, you go back to Colorado a lot. And I'm like, well, my family's still there. So
yeah.
But yeah, definitely Colorado itself is changing. And, you can either be kind of like the salty Coloradan about it, or you can just kind of accept it for what it is. And I enjoyed it. The off-roading and overlanding community in Colorado specifically, I feel is really great. Everybody's very friendly, especially to newcomers. And because I specifically haven't been doing this for that long. Like I said, I grew up in a family where I, went camping with my dad and we would go out and wander on the prairie and whatnot, but we didn't modify vehicles or do any of the, off-roading or certainly not the overlanding kind of stuff. And so really, I've only been in this for the last few years, and I made a lot of friends in Colorado that I still talk to very frequently. And now coming into Utah's great. Colorado's beautiful, But Utah is also great because a couple hours north, I'm into Idaho. Like south, I go to Moab, Nevada's to the west, and then back to Colorado to the east. And there's mountain ranges right outside of Salt Lake. So if you're outdoorsy, it's really nice here.
Yeah, that's awesome. By the way, that's Kelly Letourneau's wife walking behind me.
I was like,
Kelly's with Cottywample Overland. She's walking by. I'm at their house right now. So
Amazing.
She's just trying to sneak by. But yeah, I really, really like Utah. There's not a ton of places to camp right around Salt Lake City. You kind of have to go out. I remember that from when we were staying there. But there's just some really, really cool places up in the mountains, where you can hit, and it's so pretty there.
Yeah. That's what I enjoyed when I first came to the Salt Lake area just to visit. The Wasatch Front is, right, and the Wasatch Mountain Range is right there. I mean, even more so than I lived in Denver for 7 years.
Yeah.
And it always, it never kind of ceases to be kind of funny how people would visit Denver and say, like, I thought Denver was in the mountains. And I'm like, well, it's not Vail. Like, it's still a city, and then there's mountains, but you got to go. But Salt Lake, the mountains are like right here. And one of the places that people really love to go to kind of try to escape the heat is the Uinta Mountains, which are just a little farther to the northeast. And the Uintas are great. And for me, they kind of feel similar to the mountain ranges in Colorado that I'm used to. But there's actually a lot more like small lakes and bodies of water, which is always fun. So I really enjoy going up there.
I don't remember the name of the creek that we camped on in Utah, but it was a very swift moving creek, but it was very, very shallow. And there was like probably a 10-foot little, not huge, but a 10-foot little cliff that dropped off the side. And it was so neat because you could camp right up there on the little edge of the cliff and hear the water at night rushing by. And it was just so peaceful.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of little hidden gems for sure. So, and as you make friends, you get introduced to those spots for sure, which is really cool. And I love finding hot springs too, and going to hot springs. Like I know that's something that most people enjoy. It's always fun to find the ones that aren't quite as busy though, because it's the ones that like you'll just see all over Instagram or Google or whatnot, and it's almost impossible to get alone time at those ones. But when you can find the really off the beaten path ones, those are something special.
Oh yeah, and my husband and my son were just out there, and they went through some of the slot canyons in southern Utah, and just that whole like near Canyonlands and all of that southern area. Like we love Valley of the Gods area. That's kind of south of Moab, and just it's so pretty there, and I love that it's not super, super crowded. And that's one of the things we really like about Wyoming and Idaho as well.
Yeah. I, last year coming back home from Overland Expo West in Flagstaff, I think I left right after we closed up shop at the expo, knowing that I wasn't going to get all the way to Salt Lake. And I was like, I'll find somewhere part of the way up and I'll just stop and camp and wake up in the morning and continue. And I ended up finding one of our trails for Trails Offroad that we had mapped that had camping marked on it. And I was like, okay, this is going to be it. And because it had some good pictures. And I was like, oh, this looks like it'll be really pretty. But it was pitch black when I got there. And, I'm just going down this dirt road in the middle of the desert in the pitch darkness. And I'm like, oh, I hope there's not a canyon here because I'm going to fall off and die.
What could go wrong? Yeah,
I know. And I didn't have my dogs. It was just me. But anyways, so I found a spot and made camp for the night, went to bed, and I woke up in the morning and had the most incredible views. Like it was what you hope for every time you go somewhere. And I came to realize that the area I was in was just outside of Valley of the Gods proper. And so, I woke up and, there's just these giant red stone plateaus all around me. And I was just like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And then there wasn't many people out there because I think that would have been like a Monday morning after Expo ended. So that's on my list for spending a lot more time down there.
Oh yeah, I definitely recommend it. It's one of our favorite places, and we kind of just happened upon it by accident. We we're looking at going back up into Colorado because we have a cabin in Arizona. So we were just going to go up through Utah into Colorado. And we came across that and we're like, oh my God, I'm so glad that we took the time to come through here and camp here. And it was so pretty.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
so tell us a little bit about Gertie. Who's Gertie?
Yes. So Dirty Gertie. Gertie is my 2004 Lexus GX470 that I am in the process of building out.
Nice.
Previous to Gertie, I had a Jeep Renegade, a 2015 Jeep Renegade Latitude that I built out and had a lot of fun with, and kind of ended up getting to the point where I was maxed out on what I could do as far as modifying the Renegade. Like there really wasn't a whole lot of options left. I had made a lot of friends in the Toyota community, and I was kind of tired of being the little Renegade that could, but amongst you know, a lot of 4Runners and Tacomas, and I was ready for something a little more capable and with more room. So I started the search, and the Renegade was coming up on 100,000 miles as well. So you know, value was only going to plummet from there.
Yeah. Unlike a Toyota.
I know. And I did come to the market a little late, unfortunately. I started my search, and really what I kind of decided, but what I was trying to decide between was a Wrangler Rubicon, because
yes,
why not? Well, one, because why not? And also because for Trails Offroad, our core team mostly runs Wranglers and a lot of Rubicon builds. But so it's going to be a Wrangler Rubicon or a 4th gen 4Runner with a V8 was really what I was looking at, which then also put me into the, well, a Lexus GX470 also has a V8 and some of those capabilities and is more comfortable, built for luxury. And then I think I also was looking at, it might have been like an LX570 maybe, I can't remember. But yeah, so I kind of had, you know, my last kind of group of, okay, it's going to be one of these. And the Rubicons that were in my price range had, the mileage was just too high on them. I was like, oh God, I'm going to get maybe 50,000 miles out of this thing.
Probably more than your Renegade.
Yeah. And I did go on some test drives, and for me and my needs, it's a lot of road trip miles. Like, yes, of course I'm getting out and I'm camping and wanting to run trails, but I'm not trailering my rig to the trail. I need to be comfortable, and I tend to go pretty far. Like I'm still going to Colorado and I'm still going to the West Coast and whatnot. So test driving the Rubicons, I was like, it's loud and it's not very comfortable for extended driving periods. So it was a little shaky there. And then I test drove the GX470, and I was like, oh, this is my girl.
They're nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah. But like I said, I kind of came to the market a little late, so I certainly paid a premium. But even between then, I got Gertie back in last November, I think. So I haven't even had her a full year yet, and I definitely paid a premium. But looking at what people are paying now for used GXs and some of them with frames that are crumbling to bits, it's wild. So I'm glad I did it when I did.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So what have you done to her so far?
So far, she does have swapped out suspension. It wasn't something. It's kind of interesting. I got her from a dealer where you could tell they probably find things at auction and they jazz it up a little bit and then they throw it out onto the market.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, all right, well, some of the stuff that they did to her is at least good enough for me to give me some time to decide what I would like to do. And the mileage couldn't be beaten. I got her with like 130,000 miles on her. Timing belt had already been done, all this stuff. So she was already had some things done to her, one being the suspension. Funny enough, they put a rough country 4Runner suspension on her. Yeah, which is really interesting. I'm sure some people will have opinions on that, but It wasn't my choice. But anyways, it's actually surprisingly comfortable. And the GX, most people know that the GX and the 4Runner share a platform, and they're very, very similar. If not, some people are like, they're the same. So yeah, she's got rough country 4Runner suspension on her 275 Hankook Dyna Pro AT tires. I did swap out, it's more of an aesthetic thing, but I did swap out the rear tail lights for USR Auto LED Prado style tail lights. One of the first things I did, they had put some rickety like Amazon basket up on top of her crossbars, and I was like, that's garbage. Like, bye. So that got swapped out for a Rhino Rack Pioneer platform, which has had its own learning curve because the slats run like front to back, and
yeah, it's different. Yeah.
That's what I run. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's interesting. It's sturdy as heck, but it's been interesting for actually like mounting things, including a tent. So I originally was running a front runner Featherlight tent, which I had on my Renegade because it's literally like 96 pounds. It's crazy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I loved that tent, but being more active and going camping and usually moving from spot to spot, I wanted something hard shell. So that got swapped out for a CVT mount hood. And there are some interior mods too. There's some really cool vendors that are coming out and making things like brackets and molly panels for the interior of the GX. I think I've got a couple things from Ohana Rig Supply specifically that are really great, and just finished up a set of drawers for the rear. And then have done a front and rear bumper chop just for some added clearance. So she's all kinds of stuff.
She got all kinds of goodies.
Always more coming. Yeah.
Nice.
So,
very cool.
She's fun. Love her.
Yeah, I have a buddy who has a GX, and he's done all kinds of mods to it. He's had it wrapped and everything, and we keep saying, okay, come on out on the trails with us. Come on out. Oh. No, I'm not taking that out on the trails. I'm like,
no.
You gotta be kidding me. Like, you've done so much to this. Yeah. Oh, it's too pretty. I can't do it.
Yeah.
I'm like, come on.
Goodness. Yeah.
You are not a mall crawler guy. Like,
and there's no reason to mall crawl the GXs. Like, they have so much fun out on the trail. Like,
oh yeah,
get out there for sure. But yeah,
that's hilarious. So, what's your favorite spot to camp in Utah?
Oh,
I mean, you don't give flat and long, but you
right.
know, like,
yeah. Drop crumbs.
I know. We all know how I feel about that. Gosh, in Utah, I know, I'm really trying to think. That's kind of it's the hard thing. I'm gonna say it's almost like a seasonal thing, because if it's summer and it's hot as heck, then like I said, I'm not going down to Moab. I'm not touching that whole area. So if it's going to be the summertime and I'm staying up north, oh, hello. Sorry.
That's all right.
I know the babies.
We love fur babies.
If it's summertime, then I'm going up into the Uintas for sure. Which you don't actually, that's the nice thing, is you don't have to go that far. When I go up into the Uintas, I usually keep going past a little town called Camas, and there's a highway, and of course I'm going to forget the name of the highway right now, but there's a highway that I think it closes seasonally. They don't maintain the actual paved highway during the winter time because it's so high up and it's just not worth plowing. But I think the highway technically takes you up into Wyoming if you followed it all the way. But there's just so much camping up there. And like I said, there's lots of little lakes up there, which is really nice. Because for me, when I'm camping, I'm camping because I want a view, like I want to be surrounded by beautiful things and have a great time. So if I can camp by a body of water, that's even better. And I do like to take the boys paddleboarding with me. So summertime is definitely going to be based around water. Whereas if it's going to be not necessarily in the winter, but if it's going to be a little cooler, obviously everybody loves Moab, and Moab is phenomenal, but even just going to the kind of west of Moab and into west and north of Moab into like the swell and the San Rafael swell area, there's an unlimited amount of land out there, and still some of the most amazing views you'll ever see. I am, well, like, I'm not from Utah, so I don't feel bad saying this. I've never gone to any of the parks, like to actually like to Arches
The
and
arches
to all
are,
that kind of stuff.
yeah.
Like, I can't stand the idea of having to wait in line to go somewhere. And I've heard so many people that say like, oh, we hiked to Delicate Arch at 4:30 in the morning and there was already 10 people there. And I'm like, that's insane. That's insane. And there's just so many other beautiful things to see in this state. I have no doubt that the parks obviously are phenomenal, but I don't have the patience for it.
And they
So.
are, but you have to go. So my husband and I joke around about the first like mile and a half of most of the trails in like Arches or wherever.
Mhm.
That's where you're going to see all the people that like parked their car. They'll walk out about a mile or so. They'll take some pictures, look at some stuff, and then they'll go right back to their car.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
you have to go like hike
Yeah.
some of the more, you know, rougher trails and get way out in those kind of places in order to like really experience it without a ton of people around you.
Right.
And that was the same thing with Zion too. So I mean,
Okay.
they're both beautiful, beautiful places. I love them both. But you know, a lot of it is, you know, a lot of people just stay right around those,
Right.
you know, that's the good thing, I guess, is that they don't really
Yeah.
want to go too far out. So they go out and do their little pictures and they come back to their car and leave.
Right.
But yeah,
If you're
there's
willing to put
so
in the
many.
work.
Yeah. And I mean, the places we've been, there's so many amazing views. And Arla's husband, Tony, just went out there and met up with my husband and a few other people. And he even said he was in Utah. It's the first time he'd been to Utah. And he was just like, I was just like blown away,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
by the views. And you don't have to be in a national park to see those amazing views.
No. Yeah. Not at all.
So,
Not at all. Yeah. And I mean, everybody that talked to back home, they're like, you know, oh, there's so much BLM land. You can just pull over anywhere. And I'm like, okay, well, like, no,
not
but
anywhere, but yeah.
not anywhere. But yes, the amount of obviously BLM specifically and publicly accessible land is wild. I think technically Nevada actually has the most out of all the states, is something that I was told, and I was like, well, that's because nobody wants to live out there.
Yeah.
No offense to anybody from Nevada.
It's just hot there. Yeah.
It's hot, yeah. But yeah, definitely here in Utah, it's so easy to find somewhere to just go and explore and have fun.
Oh yeah. And I would say second to you, or I would actually say before Utah, I would pick Wyoming because again, tons and tons of public lands, not a lot of people. Love it. And what's funny is both of those are right next to Colorado. And like they're just like the unsung heroes, you know, that don't really get a lot of attention paid to them. But that's okay by me because
I know
they're amazing.
Quit talking about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Quit revealing the secrets.
Yeah. Just forget what I said. So tell me a little bit about Dufour Art and Design. What is that?
Yeah. So Dufour Art and Design, I guess I didn't even include that kind of in my background about myself. So as far as, you know, what I do for work, my background is in graphic design kind of originally, but, you know, I just generally would always call myself a designer, but I've done everything from identity and branding to web design and app design, traditional advertising, and kind of like just everything in between. I enjoy learning all these different things. And so I worked for a marketing agency essentially ever since I got out of college. And Dufour Art and Design was essentially my entity that I spun up to offer my services on a freelance basis. And originally, I like to tell people, originally I wanted to go to art school when I was, you know, finishing high school. I wanted to go to an arts college. And my parents said, no, absolutely not. They were always extremely supportive of me wanting to pursue a creative career, but just not eating cup of noodles. So I went to a business school instead and majored in marketing and self-taught as far as design is concerned, which at this point with YouTube and Skillshare and books and everything, if you are artistic in any way or have an eye for design, there's no reason you can't self-teach. So yeah, Dufour Art and Design is just me offering my creative services on a freelance basis while I was working in a marketing agency realm. And then that segued into my position with Trails Offroad now.
So tell us about Trails
Cool.
Offroad. What's your title and your position there?
So my title is Director of Marketing and Design, which is that fills my soul. That makes me so
Sounds
happy.
very important. Yep.
Oh yeah, it sounds important. But essentially, it's kind of funny. I have been an avid user of Trails Offroad's website for I think almost 4 years now. Which the Trails Offroad has been an entity. I think the website was originally published back in 2013.
Okay.
And so it's been around for quite a while, actually. But I had been using it for a few years, and via my own design skills, sometimes designers enjoy just kind of coming up with wild ideas and throwing it out into the universe is like, hey, wouldn't this be fun? And so that's actually what I did. Is I had made a mock-up of an interface that was almost like Apple Maps, but it pulled in kind of some like Trails Offroad functionality, a little bit of Apple Maps, a little bit of Gaia, and it was just this fictitious thing. And I posted that to my design Instagram account, Dufour Art and Design, and I tagged Trails Offroad. And funny enough, the founder, Todd, saw that, and they were in need of some help. And he reached out to me and said, hey, you're a designer. Let's talk.
Nice.
And
Very cool.
Yeah, it's just definitely one of those things where, like social media comes in for good and isn't like a terrible place. So yeah, Todd reached out to me, and I had been helping them on a freelance basis for last maybe year and a half or so, something like that. And which was just fantastic to me, like to be able to help a brand that I felt passionate about, a brand that I already used their product because it aligned with my own personal hobbies, was just that couldn't make me any happier. And then now at this point, Trails Offroad is growing quite a bit, and it just ended up working out for me to kind of reposition and go from freelance into a full-time position with them. So
That's amazing.
Yeah.
It's a great story.
It's awesome to be able to take your graphic design background and your web design background and, the off-road realm and kind of marry those together and find like almost like a dream job, really.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
I want to be kind of cognizant of, I've had a few people kind of give me the warning of like, don't burn yourself out. Sometimes when you take your passion and turn it into work, you really run the risk of burning yourself out quickly. And heaven forbid that happened to me, because that would be the saddest thing ever. But I definitely want to be cognizant of that too. But I mean, what better way to grow a brand and a product than to have people who are 110% behind it,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So what would you say sets Trails Offroad apart from like Onyx or Gaia or things like that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So funny enough, I mean, like I said, Trails Offroad has been around as a web presence since about 2013. And really what sets us apart, to keep taking dog toys away. Sorry. What sets Trails Offroad apart more than anything is the fact that our data, and when I say data, I mean all of our data, our tracks, our details, our photos, our everything is all proprietary. We don't crowdsource. And so really what that comes down to is our founder, Todd, has somehow found a way to kind of wrangle cats. And all of our trail guides that we create are created in-house by authors or writers, whatever you would like to call them. But they are by people who work for Trails Offroad in multiple capacities, but they actually go out and physically run the trail, create the GPX track, take the photos, take the video, write up the trail guide. So it's not crowdsourced data from our users. We don't actually allow our users to submit their own tracks or anything like that. So we can really focus hardcore on quality control.
Yeah.
And also that means that we do have a rating system on difficulty. And I always get the question, okay, well, but is that a rating system based on a Jeep Wrangler, or what is that? Because that's the problem, right? Like when somebody tells you, oh, I ran this trail and it was super easy, a guy in a Wrangler on 40s is
Yeah.
gonna have
going to
a
be
different
easy.
experience
Yes.
than somebody in their stock Chevy Silverado who's just looking to get the kids out for a camping trip. You know, those are two different vehicles, two different needs, two different potentially experience levels. So who do you believe at that point? And so we have a rating system that is not based on the specific vehicle that our author is driving. Instead, it's based off of a little more generic, like, is this trail best suited for a two-wheel drive, for a stock 4x4, 4x4 with, you know, light modifications or something more extreme. And then also we take into account the actual obstacles on the trail. And, you know, is it rocks that are, you know, small? Is it rocks that are maybe a 12-inch height variable, that kind of stuff? We try to keep it a little more
The gravel versus
general.
dirt and things like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Things like that. So because really we want to be extreme, we want to be on the extreme side of know before you go, which does lend itself to sometimes targeting a specific kind of outdoorsman, right? There are also the people who, they love the adventure and they love the unknown, and there's nothing wrong with that either. And we actually are the only platform that has a direct integration with Gaia GPS, because we also knew that there's so many power users for Gaia that are like, my life and every trail I've ever run is in Gaia. I'm not leaving them for any reason, you know? Yeah. So we do really love the Gaia team, and we have a direct integration with them to where if you are one of our users, then with literally the click of a button, you can send our GPX track for a trail and our waypoints to your Gaia account. So if you would like it to live in there and you'd rather use Gaia, there's nothing wrong with that. So.
Yeah, and I've done that as well. I recently got a Trails Offroad account and I've integrated those, and I love it. And I see what you're saying. Like, I do like the crowdsource information as well, but you're right. You know, one person's moderate trail can be somebody else's super hard trail or somebody else's easy trail. Like, it's very hard to know exactly what the standard is. And, you know, and I've gone on trails where people are like, oh, this is really easy. You can do it. As long as you got high clearance, you're fine. It's super easy. And then you get on there and you're like, this is not what I had in mind.
Yeah.
You know?
And we do still allow some user input. And so with our trail guides, we've got the GPX track, but then we also have waypoints, and a waypoint's going to be something like a rock obstacle, a water crossing, a campsite, things of that nature. And each waypoint then has 3 photos to go along with it. So when you're looking at the trails before you're even out there, we're trying to give you a really holistic view of what you're going to run into. And then we do allow trail reviews. So our users, you know, somebody goes out and runs the trail, and we've had this issue in Arizona, especially with all of the monsoons and the water that really degraded some of the trails out there over the last season. So you can go in and run a trail and then leave a trail review and say, hey, I was only able to get 2 miles down this trail because, you know, there's a big washout, and they can upload their own photos. And then that actually sends a notification to our author, letting them know. And then we do expect our authors to keep their trail guides up to date, because that's the other thing. I can't just have somebody publish a trail guide and, you know, never look at it again.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So then we do expect our authors to keep trail guides up to date, at least seasonally, especially for like Colorado and the high country, where gates close, roads close for snow, that kind of stuff. And also, if somebody lives somewhere maybe where there's wildfires, they're going to know first if there's a fire in the area, or if the Forest Service is closing gates to keep people safe, and all that kind of stuff. So we try to keep everything real-time updated as much as possible, and extremely, extremely detailed.
Very, very cool. That's awesome. Well, we're going to take a quick break and then we'll be back and we have lots more questions to ask you. So everybody stay tuned.
I'm Tony with Trails Offroad, and you're Joey the Bullfisher.
I am.
This is Team Wild Maven.
Hey, this is Josh Squash Design.
Hi, this is Jerry from Timber Tusk.
Hi, we're Caldwell Overland.
What's up, guys? This is Oscar Mike Overland.
Hey, I'm Matt.
And I'm Kara with Ozark Overland Adventures.
Hey, this is Aaron with Artemis Overland Hardware.
Hey, this is Chris with More Expo. You're watching.
And you're watching.
And you're watching Lady Overland Radio.
Lady Overlander Radio.
Watching Lady Overland Radio.
Here we go. Hey, girl. Hey.
Hey, girl, hey. Hey, girl, hey.
Hey, girl, hey.
Hey, girl, hey.
Hey, girl, hey.
Lady Overlander Radio is brought to you by Artemis Overland Hardware, the More Expo, and U.S. Action Tracks.
Bunch of goofballs.
I love it so much.
Yeah, we recorded that at the More Expo in, what was that, April?
Yep.
Yeah, that was in April. So
Nice.
we hung
yeah.
out with all of our goofball friends and got those little snippets recorded.
Little
I
special.
love it.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. So, okay, so you've been in the off-road world for a while, overlanding and off-roading and camping and all, whatever title you want to put on it. So, has it been a struggle as a female in any way to be in that world and even, working in that world and going out and doing things? Have you found any kind of roadblocks or struggles in that?
Need to think about this. I think overall my experience so far has been overwhelmingly positive, which I'm very happy to say that. I do think that there is absolutely always room for more visibility for females in the industry. But I've been very happy to say that I have been welcomed with open arms, even when I was just kind of getting into modifying my Renegade. Even the group that I found was actually on Facebook. It was like Jeep Renegade Owners of Colorado, and I just stumbled across them, and I had absolutely no idea what I was doing, which even I could probably still say that now. But even that group was overwhelmingly just so kind and so open to people who were new and had questions and things like that. And I feel like that group is actually a pretty solid mix of male and female. And I feel like I am starting to see more females working in the industry. What I would like to see is more visibility into that, because they are there. Like, I mean, obviously you guys started this podcast and you're trying to talk to people. We talked earlier, offline about the She Overlands group. And I know that there's other females that are really trying to kind of shine a spotlight on people who are participating. And I think that that's fantastic. And I'd like to see more diversity in general in the marketing of off-road companies and things of that nature, because women are there. It's just sometimes I just want to be left alone too. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
As much as I'm like, shine a spotlight, I'm also like, don't talk to me.
Well, we're almost on our year anniversary of the podcast starting. I think we started at July 9th last year. And it's just amazing to me how many women I've spoken to and met, and like the off-roading community or the Rebel Rally girls, or overlanding people, women that are overlanding internationally, women that are overlanding by motorcycle and horseback, and just crazy stuff. And I had no idea, and the reason why we started this was to highlight those women. And it's just amazing to me and awesome how many of these women we've met and spoken to so far. And there's no shortage. Like we find new people to interview and talk to all the time. And it's great. I love it.
Yeah. I think that for whatever reason, we have very much been isolated, whether that's self-induced isolation or whether that's the industry doing it, whatever you want to say. It's still coming into any outdoor hobby for whatever reason as a female feels, like I said, very isolated, like you're somehow the only one, and that is so far from the truth. And so yeah, I want to see more visibility. I want to hear more people talking about it. I want to see more ladies retreats and lady campouts and things of that nature, because we all go out with the boys, like that already happens. But there's something really special about when it's just like when the boys go out alone and it's a boys trip, like ladies need the ladies trips too. So I want to see lots more of that. And luckily through social media and through working with various off-road and outdoor brands, and through attending expo and things like that, I've been very blessed to meet more ladies that are in the industry, which is super exciting. I think that probably you guys for sure need to get Susan Piper of Demos on your podcast, because she is a force to be reckoned with, and she's fantastic. And actually Demos is now based out of the Salt Lake area, and she is, I think, a 4-time Rebel Rally competitor, both as a navigator and a driver. And I could talk about her and to her forever. She's awesome, and I definitely consider her a mentor for me that I look up to. So, and I never would have come across Susan without social media and Overland Expo, to be quite honest. So,
it's definitely, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, we've had Wild Mavens. They're entering for the first time this year in the Rebel Rally. We've had Carrie Porter, and I think she's done it 3 or 4 times.
3 times.
3 times. Yeah. So, I mean, it's fantastic. Like, I love seeing it on my social media feed. I love hearing about it, and we love talking to everybody about it. You know, we had Mischief Maker on a few weeks ago, and she was badass. We
love Holly.
Yeah. Just so cool. It's so cool to see the things that they're capable of and that they do to their rigs, and, just really, really awesome.
Yeah.
So what would you say was your favorite camping trip so far and your worst?
Ooh. Okay.
No pressure.
I know. Gosh. I'm like flipping through the catalog in the head, right? So favorite camping trip so far.
Calm down, Tony.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Down, Tony.
No, it's true. You guys should do it.
Yeah.
Oh, Lord.
Or even to just cover the event or something.
Hell cool. Yeah.
That'd be really
That'd
cool.
be fun.
Yeah. I know, I'm like, thoughts, things to think about.
Sorry.
Anyways, so favorite camping trip, honestly, there's probably too many, but so I would say short camping trip in my own rig would have been last summer. I did just a 4-day, it was either 4 or 5-day trip up into Idaho, which was the first time actually that I had ever been up into Idaho. And I ended up outside of the Haley area, maybe, and Sun Valley, and camped on a lake with a paddleboard and the dogs, and the lake that I ended up at was crystal clear. It was just crazy. I had never even seen anything like that in Colorado. In Colorado, you see like really clear alpine lakes, but this was a sizable lake. And I mean, you could see the stones in the bottom. And then when I was on the paddleboard, once you couldn't see the bottom, it was just because it was too deep.
Yeah.
Like, it was so beautiful, even though there were wildfires going on. And so it was a little hazy, a little smoky, but that was a fantastic time. But also what really kind of got me hooked on wanting to build out a rig was a 10-day Baja trip that I went on.
Ooh.
And that it was over after that trip. That trip was not in my Renegade though. That trip I went along with someone in a built out Tacoma. But the first 3 days that we were there, we were attending a Camp Forlow Baja event, which if you've never heard of Camp Forlow, they're a great group. I always highly suggest them if you're wanting to go on an off-road trip in Baja, but you've never been and you would like some guidance and a good group to go with. I have nothing but good things to say about those people. So we went for a few days of Camp Forlo, and then that was like kind of a Friday, Saturday, Sunday trip. And then we had planned to spend the rest of the week, and we just made our way from San Felipe down to Bahia de Los Angeles, I think. And it was phenomenal. Just like camping on the beach for 10 days and eating your body weight in tacos and drinking a whole lot of beer. Like, it's really
delicious.
Yeah.
Delicious.
Yeah. Yes.
Sounds terrible.
Yeah. So those two are
Sign
my
me up.
favorites for sure. Yeah. Least favorite was probably my first trip to Ouray and Telluride with my Renegade group that I had met. I made a very stupid mistake and was not paying attention on a trail, and I broke my drive shaft. And it was, I think it might have been the first trail even of the trip. And so, yeah, that was no fun at all. I pretty much broke my drive shaft clear off the rear diff. And like it was just, my drive shaft was just dragging. So that was its own kind of experience. Luckily, the people I was with were fantastic. I just had to ride along with the group leader for the rest of the trip. My Renegade got towed from Ouray to Montrose. So I did not get to drive Imogene. I did not get to drive Black Bear in my Renegade. We took our Renegades over. Well, I say we. They took their Renegades over Black Bear, which was incredible. But I had to spot and ride along and take pictures, which was still fun, but not the same.
But yeah.
And then actually, it took the dealership in Montrose, I think, just over a full month to get everything done. And I had to go back to Denver and didn't have a vehicle, and then had to get back to Montrose to pick up the Jeep as a whole thing. So that was not a good trip.
Oh, no.
But it was a good learning experience for sure.
Oh, man.
So, yeah.
That's terrible.
It's part of the hobby, right?
Oh, it is. It's still the bad part that I don't like, especially if you're, even if you're doing it part-time or you're not trailering it or you're doing it full-time,
right.
If that's your daily driver, you really rely on that vehicle. And
and that is absolutely where I'm at in life right now. I'm like, I am a single income and my build is my daily driver. So, and as much as I love challenging myself, I don't really have any aspirations to be a crawler, and I don't have the budget for it either. So,
yeah. So my next question has to do a little bit with you. I mean, you don't look like you're very old at all, but I'm going to ask you this anyway. So if you had a do-over to do in life, what would that do-over be? What would you change about your life so far? Or would you change anything?
Oh gosh. I don't know that I would necessarily change anything. And yeah, I'm not I'm not that old, so but I don't know that I would necessarily change anything versus, like if I had to give a younger self some kind of advice or something of that nature, it would be more to put the self-doubt on the back burner more frequently. As I've gotten older, and I'm sure as I continue my life, I have learned more and more to trust the gut, and that I am much more capable than I give myself credit for. And, sometimes it's worth kind of tooting your own horn in that way. So if I had to kind of give myself advice versus changing anything, it would be more to lean into the things that you are interested in more heavily. Lean into those things, trust yourself, be willing to risk, because more than likely it's going to pay off. And also, you're able to do those things if you put in the work to building a good support system around you as well. Like, don't ever think that you have to be alone or that you are alone, because more than likely you're not. Whether that's, that you have supportive family or your chosen family and your friends, or even if it's just the community as a whole. I've found so far that if you're willing to say you need help, or if you're willing to ask the questions up front, you are actually much more supported than you think. So kind of leaning into those things would be probably what I'd change more than anything.
I would agree with that. What about you, Arla?
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
I know that when I was active duty, a lot of the times, when we would have to do our semi-annual evaluations, they would always say you need to toot your own horn because nobody else is going to toot it for you, and that's true. And that's one point that you made, but also don't be so hard on yourself. Trust your gut. Try to take those chances. That's all fantastic advice, no matter what age you are,
And
because
you are capable.
yeah, exactly. You're just as
Yeah.
capable as anybody else doing whatever it is you're doing.
Right. Yeah.
So I mean,
yeah, and you're just as able to learn anything.
yeah.
Anything that you don't know but you have an interest in, do it. It doesn't matter if it's not your thing or not your hobby, or if you feel like, I mean, this is leaning hard into stereotypes, right? But if you're a girly girl and you're like, no, well, it's not really my thing to go camping or to do whatever it is, learn survival tactics or something. So what? If you're curious, lean into it, do it. Like, that's just do it.
Try.
That's the truth. Even with our camping retreat we did, what was it, 2 weekends ago?
Mm-hmm.
Like, we had a lot of women there that it was a lot of firsts for them. Like the first time they've ever camped in a tent, the first time they've ever set up their own stuff, the first time they've ever cooked their own meal at camp.
Right.
When we were doing the recovery class, the first time they've ever set up a tow. And, it's just really cool to see them gain confidence and be so excited about these little milestones that they hit and stuff. And, I think that's so important if, as long as you're constantly learning, constantly improving, and just throwing that doubt to the side as much as possible.
Yeah.
Yep.
I would agree with that. So speaking of camping, what's your favorite camp meal to prepare? What do you usually eat when you're out camping?
Oh, this is a good one. So I'm the kind of person that I will always have the freeze-dried meals just in case. Because I swing back and forth. I'm the kind of person that watches the videos and sees the Instagrams of people making the beautiful meals, right?
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, I want to do that. And I can do that. I know I can. And this is what's even worse. I'll buy the groceries. I'll make the plans, I'll buy the groceries. And then I get to camp and I'm like, dude, I'm so freaking tired. Like, no. Like, can I just like roast a cheddar dog on the fire and like eat it in a slice of bread? Like, but if I am actually going to cook, one of my favorite things actually is I really like to take like a turkey kielbasa or something, some sort of like smoked sausage kind of thing that's actually already technically cooked. You just need to warm it up. So I'll do like diced kielbasa, peppers and onions. And then I love to get those Uncle Ben's like ready rice. They're meant for you to put in the microwave and cook. But yeah, honestly, you toss the peppers and onions and kielbasa in the pan and cook that up. And then you toss the rice and maybe like a little bit of extra water and just let the rice like soften up. Mm-hmm. It's delicious and it's so quick. And then if I'm like really want a real meal, like asparagus is always easy to cook in just in a frying pan. I don't screw with potatoes anymore because they take forever. So I don't mess with
they
potatoes.
take a long time to cook. So
they take so long. So yeah, I'll just do asparagus. And then at the grocery stores here, usually in the meat section, they do these prepackaged, like it's like this little tenderloin medallion wrapped in bacon.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God. And those are so easy too, because then it's like having like steak and asparagus at camp, and it sounds really fancy, but I'm like, that was minimal work.
Sounds very delicious.
Well, and anything wrapped in bacon is amazing anyway.
Bacon,
so, I mean,
you had my bacon.
Yeah, but I hate the cleanup process. So if I'm gonna cook, it needs to be something that can be a one pan meal kind of thing, because I'm somewhat surprised I probably haven't gotten myself sick yet. Like I don't want to boil water to wash the dishes. Like I even have a jet boil, but I don't want to touch it if I don't have to. So I'm like, if I can just wipe out the pan with like a paper towel and golden. Like, and there's a little dirt in there, but I don't care. Like, you know,
Yeah,
my
little
immune
dirt
system
don't
will
hurt.
strengthen. Yeah.
Yep.
So
Bats Off-Road says baby new potatoes cook up faster.
Oh,
baby new potatoes, which I don't even know what kind of
the
Little
little
red
tiny
potatoes, they're
potatoes.
small.
the
Yeah,
little fingerling ones, like the
Yeah,
little
yeah,
okay.
like
tiny
baby.
potatoes.
Yeah,
You just cut them in half and fry them real
but
fast.
even those take a minute. I mean,
Well,
Now
yeah.
he makes some good asparagus for sure. Arla's husband. That's Arla's husband commenting. He
Yeah.
makes some good
I'd-
asparagus for sure.
Well, and I had seen somebody, I don't know, like a YouTube video or something where, you can take like red skin potatoes and dice them, just like cube them up.
Yes.
But the key seems to be that you need to like put a little bit of water in the pan and have a lid.
Yes,
I
you need to
never
keep
have
that
a
heat
lid.
in.
Yeah, I never have a lid. So it's like pan fried potatoes, which just turns out to be crunchy potatoes and like raw on the inside and crunchy on the outside, and it's not good. It's
Yeah.
not good. So yeah, I don't do any of those. And breakfast is always I'm that person again where I'm like, I'm gonna make breakfast. I'm gonna make pancakes, and then I'm like, girl, you're eating oatmeal.
Yeah.
Like I'm an oatmeal
I
for
bring
breakfast all
Pop-Tarts.
the way. Right? Pop-Tarts are the best. Like, yeah.
Quick
Oh,
grab, quick grab.
Yeah. And it's different if I'm with if I was with a group, then it would be different. And if I was planning on sticking around, like if I was camping in one spot for the weekend, that's completely different too. It's more of more often than not, I am moving from camp spot to camp spot when I'm on a trip. And so I just want something that's really quick, and I've got other things to worry about, getting back on the trail. So
easy to clean up, and it's true.
Mhm.
I mean, we go back and forth. I mean, again at the camping retreat, we did potlucks. So, everybody kind of made one thing and brought it over, and that was so nice
It worked out
because
good.
and
Yeah.
we kind of did dishes quickly, and we were camped in one spot. So, it was a lot easier than being out on the trail and moving every day and trying to come up with these amazing meals off the fly. It's just
Right.
not the same.
Yeah, if you can ever time it right, and if you follow him on social media, one of my buddies back in Colorado, Jason, his handle's Overland Eats, and he's not even a full-time chef, and that's almost what annoys me. I think he works in like real estate or something full-time, but he just has this passion for cooking and sharing it with people. And I had the immense pleasure of going on a camp out with him, and he will do like fire roasted butternut squash with breadcrumbs and smoked chicken wings. He'll bring his like camp chef smoker out, and he just did a partnership with Messermeister knives and stuff. Like, he's real deal legit, but he likes to do pop-up camp outs every once in a while and stuff, and he'll just post it on his Instagram. And if you see it and if you can figure out where he is, then he will somewhat feed you. Yeah, you gotta.
Yeah, nice. Overland
You'll
Eats.
get hooked.
How about that?
Heck yeah.
His food is phenomenal.
Yeah.
So,
I had to look you talk about food. I was like, oh, I gotta check that out.
Yeah.
I mean, he doesn't look like he needs any help with any followers, but give him a follow and check him out for sure.
Definitely do, for sure.
So speaking of social media, why don't you give the audience a little bit of information about how they can find you on social media?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you just are interested in following me personally, my handle is @littleariana. There's no meaning behind the name. It's been the same since 2012 when I joined Instagram. So you can find me at @littleariana. That's just going to be me, my personal life, my personal travels. And then if you want to find my work, then that is Trails Offroad, and it's just @Trails Offroad on Instagram and Facebook as well. So, and more than likely, if you send a message to Trails Offroad, you're probably going to end up talking to me. So,
nice.
That works.
So, yeah. Yep.
And
Dufour Art and Design.
you got some pretty cool stickers and stuff going on there.
Yeah. And I always tell people, if you need any help, if you need help with a website, with stickers, with logo, with photography, with whatever it may be, reach out to me. I love working with small outdoor and off-road brands, and my background is working with all kinds of different brands. So if anybody ever needs help, give me a holler.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Thank you so much, Ariana, for being on here tonight. We really, really enjoyed talking to you. We didn't get a chance to talk about your collies, but I saw them hopping
That's
around
all
in the
right. I
background. They were
know.
awesome.
Yeah. Hey, come here.
Hi, baby.
Quill says hello.
Aw.
Drax is busy with the ball, but you can see them if you check out my Instagram. They're all over it.
Yes. Well, thank you
Yes.
so much for being on the show tonight. We really enjoyed it, and we look forward to sharing a campfire with you at some point.
Yep. Thanks, ladies. I'll see you on the trails.
Thank you. Good night, everybody.
Bye.